As a heart doctor, this morning mistake triples your heart attack risk after 60. Can you believe that just one small habit, one that millions of people still repeat every morning, can actually triple the risk of a heart attack after the age of 60? I am a cardiologist, and I have heard the same heartbreaking story countless times. He was perfectly fine yesterday, but this morning he collapsed in the bathroom. Have you ever heard a story like that? What is strange is that these tragic events do not usually strike at night, when the body is resting, nor in the late afternoon when we are the most fatigued. They often occur right after we open our eyes. So why is morning, the very moment when a new day begins, the most dangerous time for the heart? Many people blame age, genetics, or fate. But the truth is even more frightening. There is a common mistake you repeat every morning, one that seems harmless, yet silently damages your blood vessels and heart. What worries me most is that the majority of people who make this mistake never even realize it until it is far too late. In this video, I will show you what that mistake is, why it makes the heart so vulnerable in the morning, and a simple 30-second solution that could protect you from a silent killer. Aren't you curious to know whether you are making that same mistake? And will your tomorrow morning begin with a peaceful heartbeat or with a sudden crisis? Why is morning the most dangerous time for the heart? Have you ever wondered why most heart attacks and strokes occur in the morning, just after waking up? This is no coincidence. Science has proven that our heart and blood vessels are at their most fragile in the first few hours of the day. After a long night of sleep, your body naturally falls into a state of mild dehydration. You don't feel it, but just 6 to 8 hours without water already makes your blood thicker and slower moving, like honey flowing through a narrow tube. Now imagine what happens if, at that very moment, an artery that has already stiffened with age is forced to push this heavy flow. Can it really withstand that pressure? That's not all. When you shift from lying down to sitting up and then standing, your blood pressure suddenly spikes. In younger people, the body quickly adjusts. But after 60, this mechanism slows down, becomes out of sync, and your blood vessels are struck by an abrupt shock. Picture it this way. It's like pumping water at high pressure through an old, fragile pipe. How much longer can it last before it cracks? Science calls this the morning surge, the morning blood pressure peak. In a study conducted in Japan, doctors discovered that people with unusually high morning blood pressure waves had twice the risk of stroke compared to others. And a large analysis published in the American Journal of Cardiology also revealed that the risk of heart attack increases by more than 40% during the first 6 hours of the morning. Do you see just how frightening those numbers are? Our bodies follow their own circadian rhythm. In the morning, stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline rise to prepare us for daily activity. The heart rate accelerates, blood pressure climbs. But for a heart that has worked for decades, with blood vessel walls that no longer have their youthful elasticity, this becomes the most vulnerable period. So what happens if, at that very moment, you add a familiar mistake, like a strong cup of coffee on an empty stomach? Many of my patients have told me, "Doctor, I feel fine all day, but I don't understand why I often feel dizzy in the morning, my heart pounds, and once I even collapsed as soon as I got out of bed." Have you ever felt the same? If so, that is not just ordinary fatigue. It could be a silent warning sign from your cardiovascular system. The paradox is that, at the very moment when the body is at its weakest, many people choose to start the day with habits that make things worse. Instead of rehydrating and breathing deeply, they load up on caffeine, sugar, or even stimulants. Can you imagine the danger of pouring fuel onto a hidden fire already smoldering in your heart? So what is the first and most common mistake that so many people over 60 make every morning? Why can a strong cup of coffee, often considered the companion of the morning, actually become the silent enemy of the heart? Mistake number 1. Strong coffee on an empty stomach. In the morning, many people head straight to the kitchen after waking, Pour a hot, strong cup of coffee, and just the aroma alone makes them feel awakened. That first sip slides down the throat, the heart beats faster, the eyes open wider, and they believe they are ready for the day ahead. But do you realize that in that very moment, your heart is being forced to endure a sudden shock? After a long night, your body is dehydrated, your blood is thicker, and your heart rate is still moving slowly as it recovers. At that time, pouring a large dose of caffeine into the circulatory system is like forcefully winding up an old clock that was resting. The result? The heart rate shoots up. Adrenaline, the stress hormone, is overstimulated, and blood pressure spikes within minutes. Have you ever felt your heart pounding or a bit of jitteriness after your morning coffee? Research shows that with just 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine, the amount in a strong cup of coffee, systolic blood pressure can rise by an average of 8 mmHg and diastolic pressure by 5 mmHg for several hours after drinking. For younger people, the body can adjust, but for those over 60 with arteries already stiffened, this becomes an extremely dangerous burden. Did you know that during the morning risk window, even one such surge in blood pressure can sharply raise the likelihood of a heart attack? I once had a patient, Mrs. Linda, 67 years old, who always started her day with a strong cup of coffee and no breakfast. She told me, "It helps me stay alert, otherwise I can't function all day." But one morning, she felt dizzy, her heart raced wildly, and she collapsed right in her kitchen. When she was admitted to the hospital, her blood pressure had spiked, and doctors confirmed it was a dangerous arrhythmia. Do you realize that you might also be depending on coffee the same way Linda did? I am not saying that coffee is the enemy. On the contrary, many studies have shown that coffee, in moderate amounts, can help reduce the risk of Parkinson's disease and even improve short-term memory. But the real problem lies in the way you drink it. Drinking strong coffee on an empty stomach after your body has gone through a night of dehydration, that is the perfect recipe for a cardiovascular shock. So what is the solution? Begin your morning with a glass of warm water to rehydrate your body. Then have a light snack, such as a slice of whole grain bread or a few slices of banana, to ease the impact on your stomach. If you want to enjoy coffee, choose a lighter brew, and even better, have it after breakfast. This way, you can still savor the flavor you love without forcing your heart to endure unnecessary stress. You see, coffee itself is not harmful. It's the wrong drinking habit that becomes a real threat. But what worries me is that many people think switching from coffee to fruit juice in the morning is automatically a safer choice. Have you ever thought that a glass of packaged orange juice is a healthy start to the day? Mistake number 2. Packaged fruit juice in the morning. There is a common belief I often hear from patients. Every morning, I drink a glass of orange juice, so I'm taking care of my health. Have you ever thought the same way? In reality, the image of a cool glass of orange juice in the morning has been deeply ingrained in American nutrition culture. Advertisements everywhere paint it as the symbol of health, freshness, and energy. But the truth behind it is shocking. A 330 milliliter bottle of packaged orange juice contains the equivalent of 7 to 9 teaspoons of sugar. And unlike eating a whole orange, packaged juice has had nearly all its fiber removed, meaning that sugar rushes into your bloodstream at a rapid pace. What happens then? Blood sugar spikes, your pancreas releases a surge of insulin to cope, and just a few hours later, you crash into fatigue and shakiness as blood sugar drops quickly. This isn't just about fluctuating energy. Research from Harvard has shown that repeated blood sugar spikes damage the endothelium, the fragile inner lining of your blood vessels that protects against inflammation and atherosclerosis. Once that lining weakens, the risks of high blood pressure, arterial plaque buildup, stroke, and type 2 diabetes rise dramatically. I have had many patients say, "Doctor, I don't drink soda, I only drink orange juice." But when I showed them their test results, their blood sugar and cholesterol levels were still high. They were stunned to realize that what they thought was healthy all along was actually the culprit. Have you ever found yourself in the same situation, believing you were doing the right thing, only to have your body tell you otherwise? The solution is not to eliminate fruit altogether. On the contrary, go back to the most natural form. Eat a whole orange, an apple, or a few slices of kiwi. The fiber in whole fruit helps slow down sugar absorption, easing the burden on your blood vessels. And if you want a morning drink, try water, herbal tea, or low-sugar vegetable juices like celery or cucumber. So, do you still think that a morning glass of orange juice is your companion for health? Or is it truly liquid sugar silently wearing down your arteries?
Mistake number 3. Diet soda, the zero sugar trap. After the movement to cut down on sugar became widespread, many people turned to diet soda, believing that no sugar, no calories must be safer. Have you ever swapped regular soda for diet soda and felt like you were making the right choice? In reality, diet soda is sweetened with aspartame, sucralose, or acesulfame K. While these contain no calories, they trick the brain into reacting as if you had consumed real sugar. Insulin is released, metabolic balance is disrupted, and your blood vessels are put under strain. The story of Mr. Charles, 64 years old, illustrates this. After being diagnosed with pre-diabetes, he decided to give up regular soda and replace it with diet cola every day, convinced he had made a wise choice. For nearly 2 years, he maintained this habit, but then he began to experience dizziness and unstable blood pressure. When hospitalized, doctors discovered signs of vascular inflammation. The culprit was not real sugar, but the artificial sweeteners he consumed daily. This is not an isolated case. A large study within the Women's Health Initiative, involving more than 80,000 postmenopausal women, found that drinking 2 or more cans of diet soda per day increased the risk of ischemic stroke by 31%, and the risk of small artery occlusion by as much as 144%. These numbers cannot be ignored, especially for women over 60, a group already highly vulnerable to cardiovascular disease. Are you surprised to learn that zero sugar could be even more dangerous than sugar itself? The most frightening part is not the ingredients, but the false sense of security. Believing diet soda is safe, many people drink it more frequently, even replacing water altogether. But the heart does not care about labels like zero or diet. It only knows that day after day, it is being forced to confront artificial substances that fuel inflammation and disrupt regulation. Have you ever asked yourself, are you truly making a healthy choice or just following labels in advertising? And if diet soda isn't safe, then what drink could be even more dangerous for the heart in the morning?
Mistake number 4. Energy drinks and cardiac shock. If morning coffee is the familiar friend and fruit juice is seen as healthy, then energy drinks are advertised as a revival potion, a quick way to wake up the body and boost energy. Have you ever tried an energy drink in the morning thinking it might keep you alert instead of coffee? Take a closer look at the ingredients. A standard can of energy drink contains 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine, equal to or even more than a strong cup of coffee. But that's not all. It also comes with refined sugar, taurine, guarana, and high doses of B vitamins. When all these hit your bloodstream at once, your heart becomes like an old engine forced into sudden overdrive. Do you think a heart that has already been working hard for more than 60 years can withstand such a shock? Science has issued a clear warning. A study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association showed that after just 1 can of energy drink, systolic blood pressure rose by an average of 5 millimeters Hg, and the electrocardiogram recorded prolonged QTc intervals, a marker of dangerous arrhythmias. Another trial in JAMA found that heart rhythms could become unstable in as little as 30 minutes. This is no longer about a feeling of instant alertness, but rather a genuine cardiovascular stress response. Do you find it frightening that a single small can could trigger such serious physiological changes? And the real-world numbers are even more alarming. According to a SAMHSA report, emergency room visits in the United States linked to energy drinks doubled between 2007 and 2011, rising from about 10,000 to more than 20,000 cases. Many people assume this is just a problem for the young, but statistics show that cases among those over 40 also increased rapidly. Have you ever imagined that one small can, seemingly harmless, could send thousands of people to the hospital within just a few years? I still remember one of my patients, Mr. Robert, 62 years old, from Missouri. After a long interstate drive, he drank an energy drink to stay alert. But just 30 minutes later, he didn't feel refreshed. His heart was racing, he was short of breath, and his hands and feet went numb. In the emergency room, doctors confirmed he was experiencing acute hypertension, arrhythmia, and transient ischemia, early warning signs of stroke. He sighed and told me, "Doctor, I almost died because of one can." Can you imagine that feeling when a small habit nearly costs you your life? The truth is, after age 60, your heart does not need more stimulants. It needs rest, a gentle start. Pouring in harsh chemical cocktails of high-dose caffeine, taurine, and refined sugar is like forcing an elderly person to sprint right after waking up. Do you think that's fair to your heart? If you truly want to feel alert in the morning, there are far gentler and safer options. A glass of warm water with lemon and ginger to jumpstart circulation, a light cup of green tea with less caffeine but rich in antioxidants, or simply 5 minutes of walking around the house. These not only awaken you naturally, but also help your heart feel liberated instead of forced. But the biggest question remains. If strong coffee, packaged fruit juice, diet soda, and energy drinks are all the wrong choices, then what is the safe 30-second habit that can protect your heart every morning, and why is it so effective?
Solution and climax. From the very beginning, I promised to share with you a habit so simple it only takes 30 seconds, yet it can become a shield protecting your heart every single morning. And here is that secret. Drink a glass of warm water before you do anything else. It may sound too simple, but science has proven its benefits. After a long night of sleep, your body loses about half a liter of water through breathing and perspiration. Your blood becomes thicker, circulation slows down, and your vessels constrict more easily. When you drink a glass of warm water immediately, your body is rehydrated, your blood thins, circulation flows more smoothly, and your heart no longer has to struggle with each beat. Can you feel how something so small could make such a huge difference? Not only that, but this glass of warm water also gently signals your nervous system to wake up, allowing blood pressure to adjust gradually instead of spiking suddenly. It's like slowly starting up an old car, rather than slamming the accelerator and making the engine shake violently. For a heart that has served you faithfully for decades, this gentleness may be the most priceless gift of all. After drinking water, spend a few minutes choosing safer options: a slice of fresh fruit instead of packaged juice, a cup of herbal tea instead of diet soda, or a short walk around the house instead of rushing to crack open an energy drink. These little habits, when added together, form a solid barrier protecting your heart from sudden crises. I have seen many patients who improved their health dramatically by changing just this one habit. They told me, "Doctor, I no longer feel dizzy in the mornings and my heartbeat is steadier." Wouldn't you want to experience that same change starting tomorrow? So tomorrow morning, before you reach for your coffee, your orange juice bottle, or your usual soda can, ask yourself, could I give my heart an easier breath just with a glass of warm water? After 60, every morning is not just a new beginning, it is a precious gift.
We have lived through so many years, seen friends and loved ones sometimes pass away suddenly after what seemed like an ordinary morning. Do you want that to happen to you, when just one small habit could change the course of your life? This video is not meant to spread fear. I want to give you the power of choice. The power to wake up in peace, to take charge of protecting your heart instead of leaving it to fate. Just one glass of warm water, a piece of fresh fruit, a cup of herbal tea instead of soda. These are not sacrifices, but wise steps toward a healthier, more peaceful old age. I believe you have your own stories too. Maybe a small habit that once saved you, or a change that made you feel stronger. Share them in the comments, because sometimes your story might be the very one that saves someone else who is listening. And in the next video, we will uncover a common food that seems healthy, yet quietly fuels inflammation in your blood vessels. Are you curious to find out what it is?